Record.
Want to lead us in the pledge light? Well, let's do it. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Led by Michael Priest.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I apologize. For my tardiness, but whenever Ballston Spa beat Burnt Hills, it's a good night, and we did 10-9 in baseball, so congratulations to the boys. We've got some cleanup here in terms of the order of events. Let's say a few things here first. We did amend the agenda, so for those of you that saw an earlier version, we had so many moving parts going on that we issued a complete amendment respectfully here. So just get affiliated with it over the next minutes because obviously when we get to public comment and agenda items only, you'll want to know if you're correct on what letter it is and all that. So usually we don't try to do that, but we had so many things because of the distance between regular meetings that happened today. So there is that. We are going to, if the board allows, adjust position-wise here. We're going to go for motion A and B because we do have some folks here that need to get elsewhere at a certain point, and also a special little moment here for something I'll explain in a moment. If the board allows, we good with that? Okay, can I get a motion to approve the appointed positions in the Village of Ballston Spa Fire Department as follows? Department Fire Chief Kevin P. Crow. First Assistant Chief Wilfred Kenny. Second Assistant Chief Stephen Morrissey. Third Assistant Chief Kevin Du Bois. Department Secretary Stanley DeLong.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fondainsa.
I'll second.
Trustee Price-Bush. Discussion. Normally we would offer here, because it's a standalone motion, 90 seconds. Anybody that would like to speak? Would ask, unless you have something imperative to say, probably to dispense with that so that we can vote aye on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next motion is a special one because it is a restart to our junior firefighter program, which I know is very important to Chief Crow to get off the ground and the leadership. And what better person to have as the first person for this than Michael Priest. So can I get a motion to add Michael Priest as a member of the Ballston Spa Fire Department Junior Firefighter Program?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fondainsa.
Second.
Trustee Dunkelbarger. Discussion.
I'm excited you want to do this. Thank you.
I did warn Chief Crow that he and his folks need to become hockey fans because Michael is a player on the Burnt Hills Ballston Spa ice hockey program and got to catch up with his dad Don in a game this season. Got to see everybody out there, and I'll make sure they get out there support you guys at some point this season. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Come on up. We have a little presentation for Michael to thank him for this. Come on up, guys. Says, volunteer to all to whom these presents shall come. Know ye that the trustees of the corporation of the Village of Ballston Spa, pursuant to the statute in such case made and provided, have appointed Michael Priest, a junior firefighter, to be attached to the Ballston Spa Fire Department belonging to said village, and testimony whereof they have hereto affixed the seal of the said corporation and cause the name of the mayor and clerk to be affixed on this 13th day of April 2026. Congratulations, Michael, and thank you. Great job.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Oh, of course. Thank you for doing that.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Now that doesn't make you feel good. I've got nothing else for you tonight. Okay, we have a public hearing for proposed local law number 2 of 2026, authorizing the Village of Ballston Spa to consider adopting a budget for fiscal year 2026-2027 that requires a real property tax levy in excess of the tax levy limit established by General Municipal Law, Section 3-C. I want to explain briefly for those that didn't watch the workshop or couldn't attend, just what's going on here, what this all means, and also I should state right now with the footnote reads that we have to do a public hearing on April 27, 2026 for the tentative budget. We are going to propose moving that to the 20th, actually, at 7 p.m. Do we have a quorum enough for the board for next Monday if that's necessary? That's a yes. So we will be changing that to April 20th, 2026 at Village Hall at 7 p.m. for that. So we will be having that public hearing and then ultimately probably vote on April 27th on the final budget is the way we're going to advance that. Okay, having said that, to understand what this means, this is nothing more than an allowance for the board to pass a budget that exceeds the tax cap. The tax cap, you may assume, is a 2% threshold. That is 2% on a tax levy. In this year, as we were going over in the workshop, that ultimately means only about 1.5% in the town of Milton side of the village and less than 1% increase in the town of Ballston because of the way that assessed values work, the growth factor works, etc. We are still, for operational purposes in the tentative budget, even with small changes we have to make because of a couple things that changed, and we'll outline what those are probably for next week and the 20th to let you know ahead of time. We are still inside the tax cap with respect to the operational budget. The excess is related to the capital plan, which we've begun detailing online, but this is the second year of the capital plan, with the most major project being the DPW garage and the approach with respect to that. Again, this public hearing and the ultimate vote later on in the meeting, if the board decides to take it up, is an issue of the allowance to do it, not the requirement to exceed the tax cap. Having said all that, anything else that the board feels is important for the public to know before we enter this public hearing mode? Seeing or hearing nothing, at this point, if you would like to speak for up to 5 minutes, please raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, this is the time to raise your hand on Zoom with respect to this. And I don't know if Mike's getting excited about it. Sorry. It's okay, Mike. We deal with comic relief from time to time. Ellie's our head technician here. Come on. Okay.
Simple solutions.
There you go. Who would like to speak? Okay, Mike, go ahead. Bring your phone with you, though.
Thankfully, it's not mine. Thank you. Good evening. Mike Ikelucci, 3 on 4 Drive. Please make no mistake about it. I support capital planning. The issue that I have at the moment is that no such plan currently is in place. Let me explain. The Office of the State Comptroller makes available numerous reports on financial policy. These reports are meant to educate the public on municipal matters and to inform elected officials of their duties and responsibilities. Here are a few key points for your consideration. Elected officials are stewards of the public's money. You have an obligation to use those funds prudently. The budget process is the major element in managing the funds available to the village. The OSC long has encouraged local government officials to develop and implement a multi-year capital planning process, which should start with a needs assessment and an affordability analysis that seeks to balance capital priorities with fiscal constraints. Per the OSC, these objectives should be included in a formal policy generally adopted by the governing board. Further, to promote accountability, local officials should proactively make their capital plan available for public scrutiny. The OSC points out that a local government can establish reserve funds to dedicate resources for future acquisitions and repairs of essential capital assets. Finally, the OSC explains that certain capital projects, particularly those funded with dedicated charges or fees, should have capital reserve funds with annual transfers into those reserves. I think you will find broad agreement that infrastructure needs of the village are important. Over the last few years, a couple of trustees have asked to establish reserve funds for fire department needs and for water infrastructure. In fact, in April 2024, the board authorized a specific reserve fund for water towers. In April 2025, the board authorized a reserve fund for fire trucks and approved the transfer of $240,000 to that fund. The current fund balance summary shows a capital reserve of about $250,000, but it is not entirely clear what that relates to. Further, according to the minutes of the March board meeting, the mayor explained that the capital reserve would get to approximately $100,000 to $150,000 in fiscal year 2027. I am not clear on what currently is in the capital reserve and for what purpose $105,000 in the tentative budget will be added to. The fund balance summary also shows that in 2 prior fiscal years, the village anticipated withdrawing more than $800,000 to meet operating needs. In fact, the fund balance has grown by nearly 20% since March 2023, which indicates that the village has been running an operating surplus. In the budget for the current fiscal year, the village projects the expense of distributing water to be approximately $520,000 and revenues from water to be approximately $1,110,000. For the tentative budget, we see expenses of $655,000 and revenues of $1,147,500. The mayor indicated last month that he expects to have a water reserve of $80,000 at the end of the next fiscal year. It seems to me that a lot of money from water is going somewhere other than water infrastructure. Also, with respect to the water, the mayor in the past has indicated that the mobile carriers would cover the costs of repairing the John Street water tank. I do not see anything in the budget to reflect that, nor have I heard anything about that recently. Given the absence of a proper multi-year capital plan, and considering that the village has run at a surplus in recent years and water revenues far exceed costs, I ask the board, as a signal of transparency to the community, to reject the possibility of exceeding the tax cap. Between now and next budget season, please consider implementing a true multi-year capital plan. Thank you.
I just might call your attention to revenue line, or excuse me, expense lines A0962 and A9950. They are at the end of the A fund expenses. They reflect the current fiscal year anticipated $60,000 transfer at the end of the fiscal year. We'll be doing that in May. And the $40,866 transfer to capital projects there, and that was by our accountant's advice as to how to handle that. On the same lines, you will see the anticipated amount for fiscal year 27, another additional $85,000 for water towers reserve, and $105,281 for transfer to capital projects there. That would be the $150,000-ish or $146,000 for transfer to capital projects. And in fact, it's $145,000 for water towers. Just to be clear about where those things are with respect to that. Go ahead. If you,
I understand.
Not your free debate on it, but you have about 20 seconds left. I'll give to you.
I understand those numbers. My question really boils down to, it is not clear, I don't think, what the quote-unquote capital reserve currently at $250,000.
That's the fire. That was the fire reserve. That was the fire trucks reserve, as you know from your work in the town of Milton. They did spend about $95,000 of that on a fire police vehicle. They took in $31,000 for the sale of one vehicle, and about, I think it was sale or another 45. It was $31,500 and $4,500 on another vehicle. So they minus 95 of that 250. They plus 36, and we are just finalizing what we're going to be moving from the prior fiscal year, because we had some lagging information that we wanted to check, and I've been talking to Chief Crow about this frequently. So we assume they're going to be around at the end of last fiscal year per se, around $220,000 in that reserve fund. That is the trucks reserve fund, to be clear, okay?
And if I may very quickly, so I approve of the fire reserve truck fund, absolutely. The difficulty I have is that I don't see anything since April of 2024 or 2025, what was it, indicating transfers. So just from a transparency point of view, I don't think it's clear what that $250,000 capital reserve is. Well, thank you.
That is what it is, or was at that stage, just so everybody's aware. We're hiding nothing, and Chief Crow is on me like white on rice, per se, to tell me at all times to make sure that we're protecting those funds. We do so. They are allocated for that truck reserve for that reason, and they have used only one time those funds with respect to the fire police vehicle that was purchased. And the plan for now is to, where it isn't already allocated, there's leftover funds, to just keep pushing funds into there, especially in anticipation of the $2.6 million ladder truck that is due in 2029 to arrive. The goal is at this juncture to have them at around the $1 million mark for reserve to offset the need, because we don't know what their interest rate will be in 2029. We did not do a USDA loan with respect to that. That would lock in a rate in that situation. So in case interest rates end up at 6% or worse for municipal entities like ours, the idea is to make sure they have enough capital reserve to basically wallop a lot of that $2.6 million off that, or amount off the $2.6 million, up to $1 million probably. And again, thank you to our friends in the town of Milton and the town of Ballston, but also taxpayers in the village of Ballston Spa, because the policy now in the village is to take building improvements that we give them the funding for that. And if they do not utilize it, they get to keep that too for the truck reserve. So all three entities are contributing to the truck reserve in that way. That's the work we've done over the last 4 years with respect to that, and I want to highlight that because I think it's very important. Okay, next up, let's go to Ryan Johnson. How's that?
Ryan Johnson, 7 High Boulevard. I guess I just have a question. This is a Village of Ballston Spa board meeting, correct? Okay. And part of the village is in the town of Ballston, part of the village is in the town of Milton. So it's possible to be in the town of Milton, but not be in the village, correct? So I guess my question is, the people that are in the part of Milton that are not in our village, why are they allowed to speak here?
The general answer, Ryan, is that we allowed it throughout the years. Nobody's ever restricted it. If we restrict it, we have to restrict it for everybody in that respect.
Well, I mean, we're the village of Ballston.
You constitutionally can't.
You constitutionally can't? Okay, I just wanted it for clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. Liz?
I'm not clear. The hearing is for the public to speak, aren't you?
I had promised Mike, actually, in our discussion, was it last week, or the weeks are blending now, but I had told him that I would do better with respect to having responses for him more immediately, as you remember, Mike, and I wanted to make sure that he got responded to on the spot so he could do exactly what he did, which was, if he had a further question, he was able to address it. I feel like it was a good back and forth, respectful, and I don't think you were complaining about that.
Okay, just wondering. Good evening, Liz Cormos, 89 Hyde, a village resident. I am asking the board tonight to revise the tentative fiscal year 27 budget so that it does not exceed the tax, the New York State property tax. The village is not in financial distress. The tentative budget puts total village taxes at a little over 2.21 million, roughly 64,000 above the tax cap. At the same time, the general fund is projected to end fiscal '26 with very strong fund balance and an unusually high level of unassigned, unrestricted fund balance relative to 1 year of spending. This is not what a community on the edge looks like. It's what a community with options looks like. The question is, can we afford this? The question is, are we asking taxpayers for more than is reasonably necessary in this 1 year? No one disputes that we have real capital needs. The mayor's own summary talks about $12.5 million capital program for sidewalks, buildings, water infrastructure, parks, fire equipment. Spreading these costs over several years using a mix of taxes, user charges, reserves, grants, and debt is a sensible concept. But if you're going to over the tax cap in the name of capital planning, you owe taxpayers a budget that is transparent, structurally sound, and aligned with the state comptroller's guidance, not just a general narrative. The mayor's summary openly describes a pattern where the projects are budgeted in 1 year, not completed, and then, quote, rolled over into the next year through a fund balance to, quote, avoid double taxation. For fiscal year '27, that list totals about $352,000 in rollovers for sidewalks, pool floor, village hall work, water systems costs, events, police payroll, arts programming, and more. That is on top of a strong current year results. When over budgeting and rollovers become standard practice, as it has been for the last few years, it's a signal that the budget needs to be tightened and clarified, not an excuse to exceed the tax cap. There's also serious reserve planning problem, as Mike has said. Comptroller's guidance on reserves is clear. Reserve funds are supposed to be deliberate tools created for specific, legally authorized purposes with clearly stated goals and board oversight. They are not supposed to be vague parking lots for excess cash. If we're going to tell taxpayers that they must pay more than the cap because of capital needs, we should be able to point to specific capital, equipment, and infrastructure reserves for buildings, highways, sidewalks, and water infrastructure, fire apparatus, and parks, each with a stated purpose, target ballots, and multi-year schedule for use and replenishment. That kind of framework has yet to be provided. On top of that, some of the most important revenue information is simply missing. We know the village reasonably expects significant grant funds, the $250 from Tonko included, including major federal sidewalk grant that the administration itself has described in connection with this capital plan. Yet those dollars are nowhere shown on the revenue side of the budget. When you leave expected grant funds off the page, it creates the impression that exceeding the tax cap is the only realistic way to pay for these projects, instead of honestly showing how much will be covered by outside dollars and how much truly needs to come from local taxpayers.
1 minute, Liz.
A budget that goes beyond the cap should at minimum show all responsibly assured grant revenues and then explain why, even with those grants, an over-cap levy is still necessary. This budget does not do that. There are also line item choices that raise questions whether the operating budget has really been right-sided. Sidewalk contractual spending is budgeted at a level many times higher than what we actually spend. Russian weeds is another area where the increase goes well beyond demonstrated experience. Transfers to capital are layered on top of those choices. Both Police Department and Department of Public Works are budgeted with overtime and premium pay running in the range of 17 to 21% of total pay. Planning for negotiated increases is smart, but it should not be shown as paying
10 seconds.
excessive overtime to career police officers. Likewise, contributions to the fire department should not be shown as building expenses that may not be used. These two should be shown as direct transfers.
Thank you, Liz. A couple general things just to clarify. Congressman Tonko's $250,000, we have not received any word yet from CDBG funding with respect to rules, anticipated money, timing, et cetera. We know that we are in the budget. The question is how and when will funds be delivered with respect to it. So at this point, we couldn't put it in. That also said, though, if we receive it, we know where it's going toward, which is sidewalks. It has to, because we'll be audited to show that fact. So whether or not it was in this budget, the $250,000 from the federal government is earmarked for sidewalks, and it's discussed in the executive summary for that reason. With respect to 9950, let me be clear here also, because we're talking about a lot of parlance here of, it's taken me 4 years to learn some of this myself, and we've got some really on-the-spot accountants about this. This was asked last year as we began this endeavor toward capital planning. Budget line A9950 typically functions as a dedicated transfer mechanism for capital projects rather than a quote-unquote lockbox that permanently seals funds for a single purpose. Within New York State and local government budget structures, A9950.9 represents a transfer to capital projects fund, which moves money from the general fund to the capital projects fund to finance a wide array of infrastructure and construction projects. Here's how it works. It's a dedicated transfer, not a locked box. It's commonly used to record the transfer of funds authorized in the general fund to the capital projects fund, allowing the payment of board-approved project expenditures. It's a flexible allocation. Once transferred, these funds are generally used for a panoply of potential capital projects, including construction, land preservation, rehabilitation. Rollover capability, uncommitted funds in a capital plan are often rolled over into subsequent years, allowing them to remain dedicated to capital purposes rather than reverting to the general fund, functioning similar to a lockbox or capital-only spending. The scope of these things is the financing of diverse large-scale projects. For instance, it's using your SUNY hospital upgrades, community college improvements, transportation infrastructure, environmental conservation projects. And what it comes down to is, in summary, A9950 is a transfer line that acts as a conduit to move money from the general operating budget into a dedicated capital pool, which is then used to fund a wide authorized array of projects rather than being restricted to a single locked down project. So that is what that 9950 line is, and why the overage from this year and the overage anticipated for next year is placed there to show that the intention is to put $146,000 toward capital projects that we will define as we have the need in the capital projects fund to assign to those capital projects. The executive summary lays out the $12.5 million worth of projects, some of which are being funded through, let's say, the fire trucks through Milton and Ballston money, other things like the DPW building, which need taxpayer assistance in some way, shape, or form. So I just want to be clear what 9950 is for those that don't understand all these finer points of the budgeting, because this is pretty granular stuff that I want to make sure that there's no confusion about the intentions, why it's in certain lines, and the fact that we did get accounting guidance on this, because do you think I walked into this job having any idea what 9950.9 was or anything like that? No. This is where they told us to put it for those purposes at that point in time. Anybody else? Yes, Lisa.
Lisa Spidell, resident taxpayer, Town of Milton Side, Village of Ballston Spa, and an address known to the clerk. I am against a tax levy increase in excess of the tax cap. When constituents are having to make hard decisions to afford mortgages, rent, heat, medications, food, and are going without, and having to make hard choices of what you go without, the village should be sensitive to that and cut where they can. We should do our best to stay within the tax cap. We should not assume that it's okay to go outside of that tax cap when we are in the political climate and the monetary climate we're in right now. Budget for necessity, not in essentials. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, hearing none, and can I get a motion to close the public hearing at 7:33 p.m.?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Dubuque,
I'll second.
Trustee Price Bush, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that the minutes of the March 23rd, 2026 meeting be approved?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Price Bush,
I'll second it.
Trustee Dunkelbarger, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. No presentations tonight. Public comment on agenda items only. We generally ask that if you spoke with respect to the public hearing, not to be redundant with respect to an ensuing motion afterward here, just to allow everybody good opportunity to speak, and so we don't hit the 2-hour rule of the meeting itself later on. Your prerogative ultimately, but again, that's our general request in that situation.
You close the public hearing.
Did I close the public hearing? That was the first motion I made. It's
7:33, I think it was.
don't do that to me.
You were asking me, so I was asking you.
I'm like, oh my God, what did I not do? No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, your prerogative. I do want to just say generally here, we don't have the rules listed on the back. We will probably do that in the future, but I'm going to just boil it down to one word: respect. Okay? Address the board, address the topics at hand. Name calling, insinuations of, character, things like that just don't belong at this phase of the meeting, at any phase of the meeting, respectfully. This is your chance to talk for 3 minutes, and you'll have another chance later on for 3 minutes. Please show respect. And then when the meeting's over, we ask you further, when you go into the parking lot, it's supposed to be a safe space out there as much as anything. It's when the meeting's over, we're all supposed to be neighbors again and get along to the degree neighbors are supposed to get along. It wasn't a pretty sight 3 weeks ago. It's not something we want to hit too hard, at least at this phase, that you can say what you want at the appropriate times, but please respect each other, respect this board, and make your points. We're not going to agree all the time. We're not. And I said this to somebody else this weekend on an unrelated topic. We may never be friends, per se, people that disagree, but that's okay. And we may disagree on a lot of things, and that's okay. But when it crosses certain lines, it's not appropriate. That's what I'm going to boil down our rules to right here, is just a respect level for everybody here. But again, address the board when you speak, not into the audience. Thank you for that. Who would like to speak on the agenda items only? Lisa?
Can I ask just a quick question?
Sure, go ahead.
Is number 7, does that fall into the number 1 through?
The small Romans there, yes,
Yes.
the 1 through 15.
Does that all encompass everything? It's going to be one vote or is it separate things?
What I'll do at that point is say to the board, is there anything that you'd like to remove from consideration for separate consideration at that point? If they say no, then all 15 get considered in it bulk. If they say yes, we'll pull out the ones that they request.
Okay, so I can speak on it.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, I didn't know if it was all or not.
Oh, no, you're fine.
I have 2 things to do.
Go for it. I'm going to say that it's Lisa Spidell of an address known to the clerk, and I'll let you start from there.
Thank you very much.
You got it.
Let's see. Just some thoughts on this. Number 7A1. Why is it, if this is a software subscription, just a question, why is it needed, and can the tech grant money be utilized for something else? Because I don't think we've ever, I don't know. 7A2, I think the vac truck is fairly new, yes?
3 years.
Why are things cracking at a weld point? Is it from overuse, misuse, poor design, manufacturing defect? What's causing that? 7A4, the ceiling tiles, are they physically damaged to the point that they could fall on someone and injure them, or are they cosmetically not pleasing to the eye? If they're not a liability, why are we putting this expense that could be, that maybe that's a little bit frivolous, if it's just for appearance purposes? 7A6, a gear dryer cabinet. This is curiosity too. I'm not saying we don't need it. How long does it take to dry gear by air drying it? How often do volunteers, thank you volunteers, have to wear wet gear because there isn't enough dry time between calls. I was just reading that the other day that they had many to go to. 7A, I don't know, this is painting of places. Is that necessity or can that be done by volunteers? Like, hey, I'll pick up a paintbrush if it saves us some money. 7A, I don't know what this one is. Oh, what is a Neptune and meter thing? I don't know what that is. 7A9, what hydrants are being replaced or are new ones going in? I have a question mark on 7A10.
Hold on, I missed you after the Pro Coder one, so go back 1 second. This one, grab that.
Pro Coder.
Sorry, go for it. Okay, sorry, keep going.
7A10, what is it for? 7A11, has this service ever been utilized before by a village clerk? Why is it necessary now? 7A13, how much ammunition is used by the police department and how much is used for training purposes versus protection of the public? 7A14, I think that infrared is overzealous for our village police. Maybe I'm wrong, but we have the sheriff's office, we have the state police that have that as well. We don't have many full-time officers, if we have any. I don't know if we do at this point. And, you know, we have that ability to collaborate with the state police and the sheriff's office, and they're close. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Out of respect here, Scott Strait is actually the person that helped get us the tech grant. So Officer Strait here, if you wanted to keep it about this distance for you, but she was asking about the software subscription related to your end of things and the ammunition generally, if you can answer that, and the USIQ if you want to go for that.
Gotcha. So when I wrote the grant, we received $236,000, and it's allocated specifically for electronic things to help us do our job. So it can only be used for those things, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So to answer your question, can it be used for other things? Yes, but no.
Okay.
It has to be electronics things to help us do our job. When I got the body cameras, which are going to be a mandate at some point for every police officer to have them, they're not yet, but they're going to be. They have licenses that we have to purchase. That's that Motorola.
Okay.
So that's a yearly license for the group. As far as the ammunition, that's for both. So training and then to backfill because it does go bad. So every year when we do our annual shoots, we backfill our ammunition for our guns to go out and do the duty every day.
Okay, it's just general question.
Yeah. No, I figure since I'm here, I'm the one that can answer. So. So the infrared camera was something, we've had some very kind of high crime type cases where missing persons, we've had a couple children, and it was something that we as a group talked about. Since I had the money in the grant that it could be allocated for that, it wouldn't have any implications to the public tax money at all, that we were going to get it because we had a couple cases that we really could have used.
Thank you, Officer. Appreciate it. With respect to EML ceiling tiles, there's an interplay right now between their roof and their ceiling, I believe. So they've got a bunch of things and the painting. It's in a decent shape, their building, but there's a lot of little things that need to be done. And one of the items for next budget is their roof on EML. The ceiling tiles, the painting, though, part and parcel of things that have just been not done for a while that need to get done inside there. And the painting has actually been a phased project, so this is, I think, the third payment to finish that off for them. It was a large project for that. The dryer cabinet, I think it kind of speaks for itself. You actually answer your own question, to be honest, Lisa. There are situations where they do need fast turnaround for drying, to not wear the wet gear. They don't have multiple sets of gear in all cases, and so that's what that is for. With respect to I talked about the painting, the Neptune Pro Coder, I believe that is to assist with some of their work with respect to the water meters and to also test those as well along the way. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong on that. The hydrants, that's an annual purchase. It costs about $4,000 per hydrant. And so we have to replace them every so often. Lane Enterprises bell type pipe, that is with respect to the Chesterwood Court situation, and in that general vicinity, there's a pipe zone that needs to be reconstructed for any level of drainage. They are an extraordinarily high flood zone, and we're trying to give some relief to that because of the structures that have failed up there, and DPW is literally taking care of that this week with respect to that. Clerk minutes for the clerk. We've been testing it actually because, again, we're trying to do everything we can to give a little bit of relief to the clerks and even deputy clerks coming in to their duties, and their duties have been piling on lately. And so we were looking at this, and also for our clerk downstairs in building department, because she's got 2 boards that she writes up minutes for. It's a great way to get a starter to feed in the audio from these meetings and to get the 8 to 9 pages worth of minutes moving. It is not a replacement, though, for a clerk by any stretch of the imagination. Rebecca knows firsthand you got to go through them still, but it's a little bit easier to have the base to go through already written and then make the changes as you need to. So that's why we're attempting that approach. We're pretty well in testing, though, overall. You'd be surprised. Lots of you, for instance, put your name in as a frequent speaker or Liz's name in as a frequent speaker. Click that because, you know, to have it right at your disposal, right? You got it. I think that's it. I hope that gives you a little bit of...
I have a lot of questions.
Yep.
Because some of the stuff I had no idea what it was for. Like I say, the cabinet, again, if there's any volunteers here.
And I think they all had to leave at this point, but...
It's necessity at this point because they're going to numerous calls, and I believe since the emergency part was left, they're going to those calls as well.
And I also made sure that was state contract pricing because it's over $10,000. We did confirm that before it went on this budget, or on this line to be budgeted out. Who else do we have? Liz, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to continue talking about the budget. Your budgeting practices of rolling over unspent funds sounds harmless, even responsible, but it quietly leads to higher taxes than people actually need to pay. Here's what's happening in simple terms. Each year, the village budgets more money for certain lines than it actually spends. When the money is not used, it drops into fund balance. Instead of saying we consistently over budgeted, we can safely lower those lines and reduce the tax levy. The mayor takes the unspent dollars, treats them as a rollover, and then builds them back into next year's budget through the appropriated fund balance, while still asking for a new higher levy on top. The village is effectively taxing for projects and then spending that does not happen on schedule and then re-taxing them in the following year. This is the opposite of a structurally balanced budget. State comptroller guidance is clear. Reoccurring services should be paid with reoccurring revenues, and one-time money should pay for one-time costs. When a government leans on rollovers and appropriated fund balances year after year, it is using yesterday's overtaxation to prop up today's budget instead of fixing the underlying problem, that the budget is padded beyond what is actually experienced. It also blurs the line what is truly needed now and what is simply convenient to keep in the budget. If sidewalk, building, or payroll lines are regularly overestimated, those dollars should either be removed from the levy or clearly moved into formal reserves for specific future projects with a public plan and board resolutions. Treating them as vague rollover hides the fact that taxpayers are paying more than the current level of services really costs. One other factor is that we have $5 million in unallocated fund balance out of a fund balance of $6 million. That is dramatically going to hurt any attempt that we do to obtain grants. So for residents, the impact is straightforward. The village rolls money forward instead of tightening the budget. Tax base never gets relief it is earned through prior year underspending. Over time, this practice builds a higher and higher tax floor, even though the village is already sitting on a strong fund balance and is still exceeding the tax cap. A more honest approach would be to right-size the budget, show clearly which are one-time projects and which need one-time funding, and give taxpayers a break instead of quietly rolling their overpayments into the next year.
A quick note with respect to that. Another County 101 or Municipal County 101 moment here that again, you learn as you do this. The $2.1 million that we're about to receive, or actually it's about $2 million, $135,000 a grant, I'm not including in this when I say this, the $2 million from the USDA we're about to receive is already on the books technically in our fund balance, even though we don't have it. It's an accounting function where that spending was moved to capital projects and does not weigh as a burden or debit against our fund balance. So when we get that $2 million, it does not increase our fund balance. It just fills the void that's in there currently. So when you look at the $2 million of debt we have with respect to the truck and with respect to the DPW equipment, and then you throw in a $4.5 million building, we've wiped out essentially our fund balance in terms of the amount of debt that's outstanding for the village right there with that building. So $5 million or $5.5 million sounds like a lot of money, but in reality, that money is there to protect us. We may spend it directly, some of it, for the DPW building. But I think it's got to be made clear that once we have a $4.5 million next project, the money's gone. If we had to go out and pay for it all at once, we wouldn't have enough money to do it. That's the reality of how municipal accounting works and why we do rely on debt and also management of that debt through different revenue sources. And unfortunately, some of that is taxes from time to time. And my best example is to look at what happens when you don't plan in that way. You end up with a Scotia type situation, which you just keep reading and reading and reading with respect to how that situation is playing out at $19+ per thousand. We're in a village that's trying to get to $6.15 per thousand on the Milton side and still in the fives on the Ballston side. So I just want to be clear on that again. I'm trying to be as transparent as I can about how municipal accounting works and what it all really means. So $5.5 million is great, and I'm thrilled we can say that number, but it goes pretty fast when you have major projects that haven't been taken care of, and you have to be very, very careful about your planning with respect to those situations, hence why the capital plan is there. You have a hand up? Okay. Peggy, once you unmute, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I just wanted first and foremost say thank you to the mayor and everybody on the board immediately. You're all amazing people. What happened at the last board meeting was completely deplorable, to say the least, and should never have happened. But moving on top of that, I'm so proud of this village and what you and everybody has done for this village. The turnaround has been amazing. I mean, at one point in time, Ballston Spa started looking like a slum. And now people are here walking on the streets. They enjoy it. And, people, they bitch. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. Sorry. They complain about the sidewalks. They complain about this. They complain about that. It's checks and balances. It all works out. And it's unbelievable. Instead of seeing the positive in everything, they just bring out negative all the time. And it's awful. And Ballston Spa is so up and coming. It's nice to hear people out of town coming here because they want to come here to see it and walk around. And that was unheard of 10, 15 years ago. So I just want to say thank you again. And I appreciate everything that you do. Thank God I was not out there last weekend. But I totally respect you all, and I Like I said, I'm still blown away that they thought that was okay. Because if the shoe is on the other foot, oh God. But
Peggy, I'm going to assume, Peggy, I'm going to stop you there because we were supposed to be on agenda items, and I think the first part of yours was applicable to KL and M at the end of the day, but I don't want to go too far afield from agenda items only here. I do also need to ask if you want to give your address for the clerk to have on file.
I appreciate it all. Good night.
I think that was a no. Okay. Who else in the House would like to speak on agenda items only? Seeing none. You're here for another record breaker in terms of consent agenda items here, folks. Is there anything you would like removed from the consent agenda? Even with 15 consent agenda items, we still have 20 other motions tonight, which is, again, a record in 4 years. Can I get a motion that the consent agenda be approved as written? Trustee Fondenza? Trustee Price-Bush, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. I'll give everybody a moment to flip their page if they need to. We've done A and B. Let's go to C. Can I get a motion that the CTE agreement be approved for Isaiah Dubuque to become an intern at the library under the BOCES program and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement? This is an unpaid internship and is contingent on approval by the library board of same. Trustee Price-Bush, Trustee Fondenza, discussion. Obviously, Charlene, you will be recusing
Yes.
or abstaining or whatever the word is for this one.
Recusing.
Recusing. Thank you very much. No further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that the BSBPA be allowed to hold the First Friday Student Art in the Community event on May 1st, 2026 from 5 to 7 p.m. in Wiswall Park to fundraise for the Odyssey of the Mind team, selling ice cream with the support of stewards to help with funding their trip to nationals in Iowa.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fondenza.
I'll second.
Trustee Dubuque. Discussion. Best of luck to them. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Megan Miles of Play Hollow be allowed to hold summer kickoff or the summer kickoff event on June 14, 2026 from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. with setup hours from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. and breakdown hours from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. at Wiswall Park. A section of Front Street from Low Street to Spring Street will be closed to traffic only. Reviewed and approved by the fire chief and police chief. A certificate of insurance has been provided.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fondenza.
I'll second.
Trustee Price-Bush, discussion.
I'm just glad to hear that Megan, who's the new owner of Play Hollow, is, continuing this nice tradition. It brings people downtown. It's really nice to see.
Want to thank her for her patience too, working with the chiefs. The chiefs were kind of like, no problem. So I think now we're used to this event, so may be able to get it more easily passed in future years. So thank you, Megan, for doing that. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that the Classic Country Horse Association be allowed to hold the 5th annual spring tax sale at the Saratoga County Fairgrounds on April 26, 2026 from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. A certificate of insurance has been provided.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fondenza, Trustee Dunkelbarger on the second.
Are there going to be horses there?
I don't know. No horses.
It's more of a bummer.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Jeff Lindstrand of Oriental Shriners be allowed to hold this Zerbini Family Circus on June 22nd, 2026 at the Saratoga County Fairgrounds with 2 shows at 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. A certificate of insurance has been provided.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Dubuque.
I'll second it.
Trustee Dunkelbarger, discussion. I want to be clear here and sort of make the public aware. There was an article in the Gazette that had a quote from our clerk that didn't happen, and it was actually from Jennifer, about the auditorium event. This is not that. We are still waiting because the auditorium organizer stated that it was in excess of 5,000 people expected at that event, that by state law, a mass gathering permit was necessary. A mass gathering permit is a lot more detailed about traffic enforcement, working with our chiefs to make sure that all health and safety and welfare is being considered in that situation. The Department of Health actually oversees that situation. So We are not touching that until we see an actual mass gathering permit submitted to the Village of Ballston Spa, because once that threshold is shown to be what the expectation is, we have to go there by law. I want to be clear about that. That is not this. This is a smaller event from what the application showed, and so they can use the limited permit process that we're using for this one. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Union Fire Company have permission to take a truck to 3 parade details on the following dates? June 11th, 2026 for the Burnt Hills Flag Day Parade, June 13th for 2026 for the Saratoga Springs Flag Day Parade, and August 2nd, 2026 for the Turning Point Parade in Schuylerville.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Price Bush.
I'll second.
Trustee Dubuque, discussion. Want to congratulate Saratoga Springs for getting the Flag Day Parade back together again, because it looked like for a moment there they weren't going to have it. It's a great parade. Walked in it in my first year as mayor, I believe, and a great event they hold over there. So I'm glad they're going to continue that tradition, that we can be part of it through our fire department. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion approving the lowest annual village mowing bid for D&S Property Management for $16,500 and authorizing the mayor to execute the agreement with the D&S Property Management after review by the village attorney?
I'll make that motion.
We're going to remove the after review by the village attorney because she said it's okay. So we will just authorize the mayor to execute the agreement with D&S Property Management, period.
Mary made it.
Mary, would you like that motion now with that deletion? Trustee Price Bush.
I'll second.
Trustee Dubuque.
I was going to let you have it, but you're very quick.
I'm too slow.
Discussion.
My only question is, how many other estimates did we get?
5?
And what was the approximate range?
Well, we had a range. It's up to into the 30s.
Okay.
This was the lowest. I think by about 1,500, give or take. Is that? Yep.
And came with grade reviews.
Yeah, we do a reference check on these before we present them to the board, and also make sure that insurance will be available as well. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to approve a peddling permit for Cousins Maine Lobster food truck vending through April 1st, 2027 at various locations in the village listed on the application? The expiration date is contingent on an update of their certificate of insurance upon expiration of the current one on file, which is approximately August 1st, 2026. This is pending final building department approval.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fontainza.
I'll second.
Trustee Price Bush, discussion.
Can't eat any of it. Allergic.
Oh, no.
I'll let you know how good it is.
Yeah, that's great.
Because I'm a heck of a friend. Just for those that wonder why the wording is like this, it doesn't matter how much into the year you get a peddler's permit, and this is something we do need to work on for food trucks if we're going to have some more food truck activity in the village. But you're basically, let's say you try to get one in February, you're still going to expire on April 1st of that year for the $365 fee that we have in code. This is in code. We can't just go and change this by schedule. So it's something we're looking at for sure. In this case, we're basically saying them take it till April 1st, but you're going to have to renew your insurance and get your insurance to us to be able to utilize it between August 1st and the next April 1st. So that's why the wording is a little bit unusual here, but we want to make sure that we covered it so that we don't have to go back to the board at some point about this, and so they don't have to pay again for something like this. They get it till April 1st of next year as long as they have insurance. Hope that makes sense. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let me skip K, L, and M for a second here, and we'll go back to them. Can I get a motion approving the addition of 66 Greenfield Avenue to the village's water system, already approved by the village's engineers at Albella for the town of Milton outside user?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fontainza.
Second.
Trustee Dunkelbarger, discussion. Thank you to Labella for expediting this, as 66 Greenfield Avenue currently has no water due to a well failure. So we worked to get this as quickly as we could for him. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the cultural services agreement for the village to act as fiscal sponsor for Saratoga Arts Grant recipient Atavia Huang, sorry, thank you, for the Seeing Ballston Spa and Observational Sketching Journey project?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fontainza.
I'll second.
Trustee Dubuque, discussion. Brenda, just to explain real quick?
Yeah, so this is, Octavia is one of our recipients of the Saratoga Arts Grants that we approved several projects in November. She's done some classes last year with us, and it's to help pay for it and make it affordable for people in the village, or actually 1202 area code, or zip code, wow. But we're very thankful for Octavia's partnership with us, and she's a very talented artist, and you need to sign all this ASAP for her.
I'm in tomorrow. I'm in.
Okay. But that'd be appreciated. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Mike Morrissey be appointed as a planning board alternate member for the remainder of calendar year 2026 with an end date not to be before December 31st, 2026?
So moved.
Trustee Dunkelbarger.
I'll second.
Trustee Price Bush, discussion. We had discussed this before. When he went to go for retirement from DPW, they forced him to retire from all positions to create a true retirement date, essentially. And now that we've spaced it out, he can resume on that role and also on a role that we'll see in another motion upcoming. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion approving the memorandum of agreement between the Village of Ballston Spa and the Teamsters Union related to part-time employees, authorizing the mayor to execute the MOA after final labor attorney review and Teamsters final review and approval vote?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Price Bush.
Second.
Trustee Dunkelbarger, discussion. We caught in this whole thing with Mike that we don't define properly inside that contract part-time employment, and those to remain as union members in their bargaining unit. And for that reason, we've talked to the union representative. We've cobbled out what we think is going to be approvable for our attorney and also for them. We want to make sure that we have at least some approval here from the board in at least process so that we can get this done so Mike can resume his part-time as a part-time electrician, essentially, or part-time labor with an electrician field in his back pocket for us. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Mike Morrissey be approved as a part-time employee for the Department of Public Works at a rate of $25 per hour? This is obviously pending final approval, and in the meantime, he will be considered a seasonal employee until such time.
Make that.
Trustee Dunkelbarger.
I'll second.
Trustee Benitez. Why am I blanking? And discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Mary Beth Walling be approved for the roles of Village of Ballston Spa Deputy Clerk, Village of Ballston Spa Deputy Treasurer, and Village of Ballston Spa Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics on a part-time basis at a wage of $23 per hour? The employment is subject to 2, 4, and 6-month reviews, and if the employment continues after each review period, the term of employment for those roles is through December 31st, 2026, renewable at the next organizational meeting in January 2027.
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Dubuque, Trustee Fandesa, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Can I get a motion that Deborah Guerin be approved for the roles of Village of Ballston Spa Deputy Clerk, Village of Ballston Spa Deputy Treasurer, and Village of Ballston Spa Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics on a part-time basis at a wage of $23 per hour? The employment is subject to 2, 4, and 6-month reviews, and if the employment continues after each review period, the term of employment for those roles is through December 31st, 2026, renewable at the next organizational meeting in January 2027.
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Price Bush, Trustee Dunkelbarger, discussion.
I think they're both going to be good fits. Looking over their stuff today.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. I brought it off to the clerk and the treasurer on that one, so I can't take credit here. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Let's go back to K, L, and M. What?
Oh, I'm sure.
You're the seeker goddess here.
I don't know about that, but as you know, every local law requires seeker for some reason. Sorry. As you know, local laws require a seeker. And I have provided the EAF. It is a short EAF for you, and the mayor needs to sign the first page. I have looked at part 2. I have identified no or small impact. Remember, the action is the passage of the law itself. And then I have identified that there is no significant environmental impact. This does not adopt the law. For those of you that may not understand, this is a precursor. You're required to, under the law, pass a State Environmental Quality Review Act before determination of significance before you adopt a law. So adoption of a negative declaration does not automatically adopt the law. I just want to put it out there in case there was anybody who wasn't familiar with this. Do you want me to go through the 12 items, or do you want to just accept it as written?
Spare us.
Is it this board's intention that there is no significant adverse environmental impact?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's do it separately. We do it differently because of the law itself. You would ask for a resolution identifying that there is no significant adverse environmental impact and adopting a negative declaration.
Can I get a motion for that resolution?
I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fondainza.
Second.
Trustee Dunkelbarger, discussion. Roll call.
Aye.
Yes.
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 Okay. The next one in front of you is the override adoption. It is somewhere on my computer. It is a resolution. Would you like me to read the resolution for this one?
There are 4 clauses, perhaps? Are there many?
The resolved?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it is adoption of Local Law 2 of 2026, a law to override the tax levy limit established in General Municipal Law 3-C within the Village of Ballston Spa. You do a lot of whereases, and then now therefore be it resolved, the board hereby adopts Local Law number 2 of 2026, annexed here 2. The board adopts and authorizes the filing of a negative declaration, which we've already done, so we can remove that. Be it further resolved that the board hereby authorizes the village clerk and the attorney for the village to make such minor modifications to the local law documents as they deem necessary, and thereafter are directed to execute and file said documents as required by law, and take all of the necessary actions for the promulgation thereof. As I have said in the past, that just means if I have spelled the word the, T-E-H, instead of T-H-E, we don't have to come back, I can fix that.
Can I get a motion to approve that resolution?
I'll make that motion.
Trustee Price Bush.
I'll second.
Trustee Dubuque, discussion. Roll call.
Aye.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes. 4-1, the resolution is approved. Can I get a motion setting a public hearing for the proposed final budget on April 20th, 2026 at 7 p.m.?
I'll make that motion.
Go ahead. I'll make the motion.
Trustee Fondainza.
I'll second.
Trustee Price Bush. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And that was 20 motions. Mayor's announcements. Upcoming, possibly on Monday, I will have for the board to consider, if not Monday, the following Monday. We're also trying to work with Jay Grasso, who had done our income survey a number of years ago, I think around 2020. It is something that we need to renew for any consideration of real grants, especially for water system grants, any possible fire apparatus grants, and also to the degree we can even qualify for anything related to the cold storage building and or DPW building that's being considered. There are, for USDA, grant funding right now is really, really low compared to loan funding, from what I understand, but there may be some way to get some small amount of grant funding related to that. We will see, but we need to first get our income survey done. What this does is, if we don't have one, it utilizes the census data with respect to your community and we would not be considered a low-income community or even our expanded zone for our water district plus village or our fire districts plus the village. It would not really allow us to qualify. These surveys go out into the community, knock on doors to those that don't fill out the information, and gets a much better view of the actuality that the census can't do for income surveys. Talked with Jay today, and he understands better what we're kind of looking for, which is something we can use for everything that might be coming our way over the next few years here. We paid, I think it was $13,750 originally 6 years ago for a survey of 2,700 households back then. He had originally quoted around $27,000 for this version. We're trying to work with him to get it down to about $20,000, and he's trying to work with us on that. So I hopefully we'll have that for you Monday, because we would like to get that moving for especially the possibility of water infrastructure / meter grants down the line. So I don't want to surprise you with that. We've been working with Don Rhodes with respect to that. So we're moving in that direction.
How long is that process?
It can take, I think, a good few months, because they plan up to 5 door knocking sessions, essentially. I know Officer Strait, that he was talking about how the police helped him to understand last time he was here different sections of our neighborhood, so we might have them work with our police again to identify places to go. We'll make sure that there's advance notice to the community if we do go around that process or about that process, to let them know what might be coming their way, knocking on their door in that respect too. So look forward to that possibility happening. There was talk earlier, I don't want to ignore something Liz was questioning. Nobody ever said that that there was going to be full payment by the cell companies with respect to quote unquote damage done to the water tower. The water tower is a $1.1 million repaint that was delayed for many, many, many years and should have been done. With respect to any individual thing that they did to the tower, we were trying to hold them accountable through rent revisions going forward here. And we've got good participation so far by AT&T with respect to that. For the movement to the monopole, we are working with Verizon and T-Mobile actively right now. In fact, I had some Sunday night back and forth with the T-Mobile or with the Verizon attorney to discuss some of those matters as well. And we're actively doing it because we would intend on getting the exterior of the John Street Tower painted in calendar year 2026. So it behooves everybody to get the stuff ready to get off and moved on. We anticipate the erection of the new tower to be sometime in this summer, probably early summer, and then the movement of equipment as midsummer goes, and probably a September coating date. I think we talked about this briefly in the workshop, but I'll just confirm that that is still the goal. But you know, the idea that they were going to pay $1 million plus for the tower, no, they will compensate for a delay factor with respect to the extra $40,000 for delay in this painting job that may come of it from USG. So I'm not sure where that came from, but I want to be clear that there is a process going on to get the other 2 contracts in place or leases in place and to make this process move. It's welcome to how everything works, slower than you ever want it to be, but it's going to be meaningful once it goes active. I think that's enough of me talking. I know it's hard to believe. I don't have the treasurer's report in front of me. Did she file one? She has been extremely busy assisting with my matters, payroll, etc. And I know she is relieved to get 2 new folks in and trained up over these next few weeks. So we'll work on getting her next report in for the next meeting. Liaison reports, Bernadette.
Real brief, just a reminder to people that there are 2 ribbon cuttings this month. Back Barn is having the ribbon cutting on the 17th, so this Friday from 5 to 6 p.m. And then the following week on April 24th, BSNB will be having their ribbon cutting at the historic office there on Front Street starting at 10 a.m. So hopefully everybody can get out and celebrate these 2 businesses. So that's all I got.
Mary.
I have just library news. The Afternoon Book Club will be meeting Wednesday, April 22nd at 3:30. to discuss Tom Lake by Ann Patchett, and as always, books are available at the circulation desk. On Thursday, April 23rd, from 6:30 until 7:45 p.m., they're going to be hosting a quiet chapter club. So you can bring your current book and read for an hour and share information about the book if you wish. It's not mandatory. First, participation is optional. This event is an 18 and older event, and light refreshments will be served. And I don't know if you've seen the gift baskets that have been wrapped, it's a fundraiser raffle. They're going to be holding Friends of the Ballston Spa Public Library Night of Cool Jazz on April 30th from 6:30 until 8:30 with the group The Jazz Modes. And that's going to be held at the Elks Lodge. I didn't write it down here. I'm pretty sure it's the Elks Lodge. Okay, thank you. And they will be holding the drawing for the baskets later in the evening. Light fare will be provided as well as a cash bar. And the raffle proceeds and donations will benefit the next phase of the library's capital campaign, and this is open to the public. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Doing some great things over there.
Amen.
The Committee on the Arts is doing a great job with their Random Acts of Poetry series. I urge everyone to check it out if you haven't. There's banners all around town. You have the poetry chalk walk and those poems in your pocket buckets that are in local businesses. And of course, you should probably follow their Facebook page as well. There's like daily little poems that they're posting and all kinds of other fun things. On April 18th, there will be 2 poetry workshops, one at 10 a.m., poking at poems, and another at 1 p.m., playing with words. Both workshops will be right here in the library. And on Thursday, April 30th at 6 p.m., there will be a poetry open mic night at Back Barn. So just really a great way to wrap things up for the month. Moving on to the Historic District Commission. They have a meeting scheduled for April 16th at 7 p.m. at 90 East High Street. Watch the village calendar just in case that gets changed though, because it's still tentative. And finally, Park and Tree will meet Tuesday, April 21st at 7 p.m. at the Cornell Cooperative Conference Room. Stay tuned for more information, as they're also going to be hosting an Arbor Day tree planting event on Saturday, April 25th, 10 a.m., Kelly Park.
Thank you. Paul, tell us about DPW.
There's nobody happier than the DPW guys. They prepped all their trucks for the summer season. Got rid of all the winter stuff. They have also been prepping the streets to repair the digs that they did over the winter to replace water main breaks. They did clean up Wiswall and Old Iron Spring Park this week, and they got the Sansucci Spring up and bubbling again. And they also helped Earth Care with the tree removal along Milton Avenue.
And for those wondering, we are making sure that basically we take out trees that were either the wrong trees to be planted on Milton Avenue or trees that were dead or on the verge of dying based on our knowledge of the trees. Park and Tree Board examined them. That's why you see basically a barren side of the street right now, but it gives us the opportunity to fix the sidewalks that heaved as a result of them and to replace some of them at the very least for now with Park and Tree Board's assistance. And also there's a piece of sidewalk on the flip side that we're going to be looking at, the one with the big green marking of how badly it's come out. That is still caused by a street tree formerly and was never properly managed. And so we're going to go after fixing that as well in this process of it this year. We looked at this as a 3-spring process. This is the 2nd spring of it. So the other side of Milton Avenue, to the degree that there are trees that need to come down and sidewalks needing to be fixed or managed, will occur next spring. So, DPW has a multitude of things to take care of. We can't have them do all that. It would take months of a year to do it. But the fact that they're going to be able to get it done in 3 springs is pretty loud-worthy at the end of the day. So thank you to them for taking that on. There is no old business listed. I should just remind everybody quickly here, though, that the zoning code comment period that we had talked about, once I kind of got cleared out of budget mode for about 5 minutes last week, we got that out to make sure that we get comments in by April 30th. This is the end of this month. Send your comments to villageadmin@ballstonspa.gov. It is available on basically the Facebook pages with links. go back into March for the last version of the code, and we did get the map updated as somebody requested to make sure, some Annie woman. No, it was that lovely Annie person, you know. And we did get that updated and in place because it was a little bit of an eyesore of trying to look at that thing and the resolution was in, but we got an improved version. Thanks to Jen for posting that up as well. So again, April 30th is the deadline for those comments. It is not the last word you get on this. This is just to get us into a final draft mode, and then we'll have a public hearing after we get that final draft done. Public comment on any issue, 3 minutes. Again, same rules apply, respect, respect, respect. If you're on Zoom, this is the time to raise your hand, and anybody in the audience want to speak. I'm going to give Liz first dibs, 3 minutes, and then Lisa, you'll be next, and then we'll go from there.
Liz Cormos, 89 Hyde. Just a comment about the person saying how terrible the meeting was last time. I can definitely agree to that, but they ought to look back a number of years and look at the videos. And it's not the first time, and it's not just one side that has caused disruption in the past. It's been both. So I'd like to offer a different direction on the village hall repairs that you talked about last week, I think it was. The structural report that identified serious issues with the underground vault and retaining wall was presented September 10th, 2020, almost 6 years ago. In September 21, bids were received by Mr. Albright, roughly $540,000 for the vault and retaining wall, $173,000 for the facade, repair and painting, and then another $25,000 for the storm windows, for a total of about $339,000. Now remember, that was in 21. In contrast, the current approach is to budget $35,000 in fiscal 26 and another 35, I guess it's the same 35 in 27, while talking about a much larger future renovation of the first floor for an estimated $750,000. That's only $10,000 more than was quoted back in 21. Those rough estimates don't even include the cost of an elevator, which would be necessary to make use of the upper floors, which I think is what the intention is. Unfortunately, the appraisal puts the building's value at $405,000. So the board is being asked to contemplate investing over $750,000 plus the cost of an elevator and interior renovations to a structure that is appraised for barely half of that. It's fair to ask whether that's the best use of taxpayer dollars. There are other options. I believe a private developer could purchase Village Hall and potentially use historic tax credits to stabilize and repurpose this building, including converting upper floors to walk-up apartments so you wouldn't need an elevator, at far lesser costs than the public costs. The village could then focus on securing modern, accessible space for its own operations. I would urge the board to step back from this piecemeal, slow-motion investment and look seriously at alternatives. Combining the court and the village hall makes a lot of sense. For the town I came from, New Scotland, they did that. So, and one other thing, potentially talk with some of the folks that are wanting to develop here.
Your time is up.
Maybe they could help us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, you were next, I'm sorry.
You know who I am.
Lisa Spidell from an address known to the clerk.
Thank you.
You got it.
I say this with hesitation and fear of backlash, and hope that will not be the case, that looking at the big picture leads one to believe this could, in fact, become a reality. Today and in the future, join together out of respect for each other, as being able to have differing opinions and viewpoints is okay, and helps to bring thoughts and ideas together for the overall good, not to chastise or blame. In regard to the capital planning, why are we putting energy into it if the county has not been forthcoming with its plans to possibly move to the town of Malta. I can only plant a seed that money spent for capital planning may be for naught. We have already seen the Community Emergency Corps leave the village to the town of Milton. We have no animal control officer, as it was an expense that was deemed excessive, and it falls on the town of Milton and Ballston. We no longer own the preserve, and as part of that sale, the town of Milton has taken over the DPW work in Colonial Hills. We have buildings being utilized for our court, as well as Village Hall that are in need of repair, with no plans in place as they deteriorate in plain sight. We contract out our lawn mowing services. We are looking to temporarily relocate DPW out of the village to the town of Malta. We rely on outlying municipalities to bring in income for our water to maintain its infrastructure. The question can be asked, when did we become so reliant on the towns of Malta, Ballston, and Milton? Devil's advocate. If in fact the county does decide on moving to Malta and possibly leads to a change in the county seat, and then that loss leads to the potential of dissolution, what happens to our taxpayer dollars that were used to purchase big ticket items, fire trucks, dump trucks, police vehicles, etc.? When money is tight, reality matters and should be discussed transparently without fear of retaliation. The county is making its workers do jobs with less because of budgeting concerns. The village should follow in its footsteps. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Isaiah.
Whatever.
Just name, address, and roll with it.
I'm Isaiah Dubuque. I live at 6 Cameron Drive. I actually want to start on a positive note before I get into my address and public comment. I appreciate the work done by this village. For example, Workshop Park, the renovations done to that was very good. The 9/11 ceremony was good as well. That was a good appreciation to our country, especially that day was a horrible day for our country. Excuse me. Overall work on the village and the community. And I love this foot traffic of the people in the village. People going coffee point at our businesses in the village. It's just good to see foot traffic come up in Saratoga, but like here, foot traffic jumping. Like even in the winter, it's more in the summer, foot traffic in weekends downtown. But it's in the winter it's happening too. Also, my comment to the agenda was I appreciate the approval of my BOCES internship. It's been a while taking up to start on that, but it's I get to start it soon now, which is good. And I should continue the rest of the year throughout to graduation BOCES, and I appreciate the approval on that. Appreciate it. And that is all for tonight. I appreciate all of that, all the work you guys have done. Thank you very much. Have a nice
Isaiah, and welcome aboard. Wells.
Syriac.
You okay over there?
I'm good.
It's a little foggy or something going on over here?
Yeah, just it's my contact.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
it's been a long time. Gina Morosi, 10 Old Glory Lane, not a resident of the village, town of Milton, but my family's major taxpayers in the village. So, is that okay to talk, Brian? Now bear with me while I find my plan.
Just clarification.
I did have something written here, and I'm going to kind of go off the cuff instead. I just want to tell you, Charlene, on behalf of, which should be everybody in this room, I am really sorry for what you had to endure.
Thank you.
Nobody deserves that. It wasn't instigated by you. The fact that a man talked to you in that manner, I'm talking about what happened on social media. I'm sure you're all familiar. If you're not, I'd be happy to go into it.
You have 2 minutes.
Are you all familiar?
We are.
Okay. Also, I'm talking to you about it in private. I said to you, welcome to my world. Because I too was attacked by the same person about my appearances. And I don't think it's right for anybody to do that to anybody, but specifically for a man to do that to women is wrong. And it needs to stop. And I think that everybody in this room should condemn that type of behavior. Now look, I'm no angel. No angel at all, okay?
So noted.
Mark it.
I've
And
got
I know
an highlighter too, don't worry.
In the past, I have caused issues in here, but I'd like to think that I've learned my lesson. I have shut my mouth, and that's why I say it's been a long time since I've been in front of you even speaking. That doesn't make it okay for other people to do it. Okay? Learn from my mistakes. Don't do the same thing because she did it. And lastly, the last thing I want to talk about is budget. And all the commenting that's been going on about the budget. I haven't heard one thing about, sorry Carla, the extra fees for legal advice and legal actions, or the extra fees for having to hire those 2 part-timers because of the extraordinary amount of FOIL requests and things like that. So that is a big chunk of what's going on also, but was not discussed at all tonight. So I just think that the public needs to be aware that $40,000 of that increase is due to additional legal fees due to lawsuits and I can't say shit ton, a ton.
10 seconds, thank God.
A ton of FOIL requests that no small village should have to deal with. Large cities don't deal with the number that this village is dealing with. I'm done.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, last call. Other business including but not limited to board response to public comment. Paul, always in that driver's seat.
You always make me speak first. I'd just like to thank everyone for the civility of the meeting tonight. Really appreciate it. It gets harder and harder to come to these meetings every Monday, not knowing what's going to happen. Thank you all.
I agree with Paul. It's been very difficult. You don't know what's going to happen after the meeting. You know, if it's going to continue into your private life, which it has for many of us. And we've only been at this, 2 of us, for a couple months now. And I know that was, I guess we kind of knew some of this stuff was going to happen when we signed up for this, you know, when we ran and got elected. But, you know, it really has reached a point where I think it's time for everyone to dial it back. So I appreciate everyone that has been supportive of everything that's happened the last couple of weeks. It really does mean a lot to me, and I know that it does mean a lot to the rest of the board to have that support too.
And I don't mean to put Carla on the spot, but could you share what you had shared with us with the tax cap, why we did the motion we did today?
Sure.
Exceeding.
Sure. Did you not hear it? That I'm giving a CLE. So the question was, could you please explain the purpose of the tax cap override? And I think it's been explained, but just to do it again, it does not mean that you're going to override the tax cap. You have to do it under village law, under general municipal law 3C. You have to do it before you adopt the budget. If you don't do it before you adopt the budget, and you adopt a budget that overrides the tax cap anyway, any override, that funds have to go into a reserve account towards the next year's budget and have to be used to defray against the next year's tax levy. So you have to do that now. I have been in cases where municipalities have adopted the law and then not overridden the tax cap. It's got to be done first. But
Thank you.
I want to echo what Paul said. I'm very pleased I didn't have to stand in between 2 residents this week. It breaks my heart when everybody fights. I get there's a lot of opinions and we're not going to agree on everything. But yeah, everybody was a lot more chill tonight, so thank you. That should be the rule, be chill. But I had people ask, why the heck did I get up at the end of the meeting? And I had to explain. And I never want to see that again if possible. So that's all I got.
I want to address two of the public comments here. First, there was discussion about the Village Hall at 66 Front Street. Quite often, I go back to a speech that was made, I think, on October 25th or thereabouts, 2021, which was a resignation speech by one of my predecessors, Mayor Larry Wilbright. And I want to read this paragraph for a reason. Thank you for having patience with my frustrations and listening to this tonight. I just want to share one more story before I move on. My first year in office, I really wanted to patch and paint the front of Village Hall. It is the public face of our village, and it is a spectacular building right in the middle of our business district. I think its rundown appearance is a disgrace. The board refused to approve that work until I had a complete structural and environmental evaluation on the entire building. That took a year and cost us some $40,000. It did result in a list of things that needed to be done, but nothing that would have precluded painting the facade. Then the bid documents had to be prepared, costing us another $20,000. The engineers had estimated the work to cost $260,000, and I had put $200,000 in the budget in addition to the $100,000 grant from Senator Tedisco's office in case it ran over. We finally opened the bid about a month ago. There was only one, and it was for $740,000. You heard us reject it earlier this evening, and the front of Village Hall is still not painted. And the front of Village Hall is still not painted. I promised Mayor Wilbright one thing when I took office, and it is that we would paint the damn facade of that building, and it's going to get done, hell or high water. And if it doesn't get done, I'm going to meet the same conclusion he does, because you know what? It is our face. It's going to be some time if anything ever does happen with the county. One of my first meetings in 2022 with Bernadette was with Steve Bulger, where he explained to us what the possibilities were. We are 4 years later, and nothing has happened. There's no report to even put out at this point. And the likelihood is at least the Justice Center remains, if anything ever happens, is the way it's been explained to me. I can't control that. We won't control that. But to move the county seat, to move the Justice Center, would require a referendum of the county, and we would have some say into what happens with respect to that. If we ever were to gain control of, let's say, 50 West High Street, which is the Cornell building there, you're years and years away from that possibility even being such a possibility. In the meantime, we would never be able to put DPW there, so doing the DPW building would be a necessity regardless of that. And so there is a reason the rank order is in the direction it is. So I want to be clear about that. But we've worked how we can to essentially figure out ways, and Bernadette, as I said at the workshop, was present for discussion with Nora Bell Greenberger from Labella about possibilities of finding some grant options for 66 Front Street to offset the $750,000 to $1 million it will probably take to resurrect the upper floors of that building into usable space, to make it ADA compliant. There are grants for underutilized buildings with a focus on ADA compliance, and that would fit 66 Front Street perfectly. Now it's a question of making sure we can qualify. I'm sure the income survey will help justify why our community deserves those funds. And if we do invest that money into it, and later some decade want to sell it, well, at least we're selling a building that's going to have good value behind it, because the improvements you put into it would most likely carry forward to the sale price of it. We're not doing it to arbitrage it like that. That's not the purpose of it. But you have to think that way about, will the investment be worth something of somebody's tax dollars? The answer is yes, it would be. And that's why it is important to keep 66 Front Street in the capital plan and to make sure we're doing the right things by that building. Because you know what? Larry Wilbright was right about so many things in that resignation letter, and still today he remains right about that subject. Last thing, On a good note, I know what you said, Charlene, about the disappointment that comes with the prying into personal life sometimes, or to interject into our personal lives. And I gave a full speech on that last meeting, as you remember, and then the next day what happens, happens. But I will tell you this, the number of people in the last 3 weeks that have come up to me at high school sporting events, restaurants, coffee shops, etc., that have thanked not just me, but all of us for what we put ourselves through in the public servant mode of this, is nothing short of breathtaking. It honestly has stopped me in my tracks sometimes in terms of emotionally, because you do realize that we are appreciated for putting ourselves out here to this degree. It sucks there are people that will breach that mentality and think that they're justified to say the things they do or do the things they do at times. But when I took that month off and then had the last few weeks as well on top of it, you get rejuvenated. You realize, you know what? We are in a kick-ass community here in the village of Ballston Spa. And I love you folks as much as I think you've exuded to us how much you love us as folks that try to do the right thing by the village. We may disagree, like I said. We may not always be friends at the end of the day. But for goodness sakes, it's a great community to be a part of. And that's why we should do this job and continue to do this job to the best of our abilities for these good folks out here. So thank you to everybody. And may I get a motion that the vouchers be audited and the meeting be adjourned at 8:44 p.m.
Motion.
Trustee Price-Bush.
I'll second.
Trustee Dubuque. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll see you folks at the public hearing at Village Hall, 7 p.m. Monday night. And then the following Monday night back here for our April 27th meeting. Have a good night.